I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid 150s over the 80s to the mid 130s over mid 80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show. It is Thursday, January 17th, 2019. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. And I'm going to start the show with a bit of an apology. Apparently, when I was in that jury room on Tuesday, there were a lot of sick people around me, and I picked up a bug. I'm sick as a dog today, and I seriously considered canceling the show. But I'm here on the microphone. We are live. We're going to try and get through the next 3 hours together and get some news out there for all of you to deal with here. And we're going to start over in Syria. There's an interesting little detail that's come out about that so-called suicide bombing in Manbij. And we're getting this from South Front, the Syrian War Report, saying that ISIS supposedly claimed responsibility for the attack was carried out by a suicide bomber named Abu Yassin al-Shami. And according to sources, al-Shami blew himself up in front of a U.S.-led coalition patrol outside the Prince restaurant in the center of Manbij. And apparently, this is the first time that Americans were specifically targeted in one of these bombings, which is another reason to think this may have been a false flag attack to justify cancellation of the withdrawal from Syria. Because, as you know, there's a lot of people who do not want the United States to get out of Syria. And Lindsey Graham, who is normally an ally of President Trump, is blaming Wednesday's attack in Manbij on the president's decision to quickly pull the U.S. forces out of the war-torn country. Well, that should give you pause to think, because obviously ISIS would like the United States to leave Syria. So why would they carry out this attack on U.S. forces, knowing that it might reverse that policy? It's another reason to suspect that this is not on the up and up. And I'm not the only person to be thinking this is very suspicious. There's an article over in Blacklisted News, saying, was the Manbij attack a false flag to impede the Syria withdrawal? And they're talking about, 4 American soldiers were killed, 7 civilians were killed, 9 injured in the bombing. Although some reports are mentioning a higher number of casualties. It was a very, very powerful explosion. So, is it a false flag? I think so. At this point, I really do think so. And it's designed to basically derail Trump's policy of pulling the U.S. out of Syria. Okay. Story coming out of Fars News. Washington is trying to dismantle Hashd al-Sha'abi in Iraq because they oppose the continued U.S. occupation of Iraq. There are a lot of groups in Iraq, including the government itself, who are saying the U.S. has overstayed its welcome and they want the United States to leave. And obviously, the United States wants to stay to basically keep things going the way they are. And so there's this group, Hashd al-Sha'abi, that has been opposing the U.S. occupation, and the U.S. is basically trying to undermine them, take them apart, delegitimize them, get them out of there. So Abdul Bari Atwan, he's the editor-in-chief of the Ra al-Yom newspaper, underlined that Washington's hostile stance toward the Hashd al-Sha'abi, which is the Iraqi Popular Forces, and its quest for dismantling popular groups in the Arab state derives from their opposition to the U.S. occupation. So very obviously the U.S. is signaling they intend to stay in Iraq, another garrison in the Middle East. Okay, over in France, the Yellow Vests are still protesting. There's now a call out for everybody to wear yellow in solidarity. Doesn't have to be one of the vests, doesn't have to be one of the reflective vests, but just wearing yellow in general to show solidarity against the globalists. But over in France, the police are using live ammunition along with the tear gas, along with the water cannons, and it basically shows leadership is breaking down. The police and the protesters are exhausted. Tensions are very high. All of these egregious acts are wrong. Could be avoided if there were strong and influential leaders to give the people hope and calm the police. Unfortunately, this anger in Paris has been building for a decade, and a rage long in building is equally long in cooling. This is not going to go away. The Yellow Vests are now here in the United States of America. They're not getting any coverage. And actor James Woods actually tweeted on out, the reason the corporate media is not covering the Yellow Vests is because they're opposed to the globalists. The Yellow Vests are opposed to the globalists. The corporate media is fully on board with the globalist agenda. But apparently down in Dallas, Texas, a group of Yellow Vest protesters marched up to the courthouse with a guillotine. And that was caught on video. So that's kind of an interesting development there. Little symbol from the previous French Revolution here. Okay, there is the Economist Intelligence Unit's Democracy Index, and according to the 2018 edition, the U.S. does not even make the list of the top 20 on the Global Democracy Index. Basically, it came in at 25th because of its demonstrably flawed democracy. And the ranking is based on 60 indicators spanning 5 interrelated categories: electoral process and pluralism, civil liberties, the functioning of government, political participation, and political culture. Each category gets a 0 to 10 score, with the final score being the average of those 5. Now, topping out the index are Norway, Iceland, Sweden, New Zealand, and Denmark. They're declared full democracies, as their scores, all above 9.22, were easily above the 8.2 threshold. Now, the U.S. came in with a score of 7.96, which gets it the flawed democracy label. I can imagine that a big part of that is the flawed election system, the fraudulent election system we have in this country, which everybody knows about, and the very clear failure of our Congress to listen to the will of the people. Remember when that brand new Senate convened in the new Congress, first thing they did was a bill for Israel. How is that democratic? How is that serving the American people? So we're a flawed democracy, to nobody's surprise. Okay. Story coming out of popularresistance.org. Reuters and the U.S. media continue to urge an offensive against Iran. That appears to be the next target in the war hawks' plans. And so the media is already out there trying to sell that to you. Oh, yes, we've got to go into Iran. We've got to go whip it. Iran is bad. Iran is evil. Iran is launching spaceships into orbit, and they could use those same rockets to attack Europe. And again, why would they? Why would Iran do something like that? Why would Iran just start flinging ballistic missiles in all directions? And the answer is they wouldn't. They know what the result of that would be. It's just more propaganda coming out of the corporate media. But they really are pushing that. They're pushing this idea that we have to go into Iran here. Over in Great Britain, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service Director Sergei Naryshkin is saying that Britain is destroying evidence related to the Skripal case. And he's denounced this as a dirty provocation by British authorities. It is clear they're constantly trying to cover up traces of the crime that was committed and destroy the evidence. They started doing so the moment the incident took place, not to mention the fact they are keeping mum on where Yulia Skripal and Sergei Skripal are now. Why are they hiding them? And that's a very, very good question. Now, a lot of people had been talking about this for a while. There was even a video that came on out about Israel's constant attacks on Christianity, and one of the icons in the video was this art installation at an Israeli museum in Haifa. The Haifa Museum of Art had this display. It was the McDonald's mascot, Ronald McDonald, crucified, nailed to a cross. And the artist says this was to comment on consumerism and Christian values. But apparently it did upset a lot of Christians. I can imagine why. The exhibit was called McJesus. And the artist himself has now asked the museum to take the statue down from display after joining a pro-Palestinian movement. So that is coming on down over there. And over at The Guardian, they're still trying to tread water there. Remember not too long ago, they came out with a so-called bombshell story that former Donald Trump advisor Paul Manafort met with WikiLeaks' Julian Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. And it's falling apart. Other corporate media tried to corroborate the claims. They have not been able to. Assange is denying it. Manafort is denying it. The passport records don't support it. The logs at the Ecuadorian embassy don't support it. And so a lot of corporate media are now trying to question the Guardian standards. Are they a real newspaper, or have they gone down to the level of the Midnight Sun, which I would say is probably exactly what happened. Now, they ran this story first back on November 27th, and they claimed that their reporters had seen an Ecuadorian intelligence agency document detailing that Manafort and Assange had met 3 times in the embassy, including during the run-up to the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The piece suggested that Russians were also guests at the embassy, although it didn't identify any. And the article also didn't include any non-anonymous sources, nor did it reproduce in any way the document in question. So the story didn't quite have the impact it was intended to. And now The Guardian is out there basically trying to salvage its reputation, because it looks like this was a classic case of more fake news. Absolute fake news. So, getting on into domestic politics, there's still a fight going over the upcoming State of the Union speech, where Nancy Pelosi is out there saying that it should be canceled, it should be postponed, that Trump should just send the speech over in writing to Congress. Supposedly, she's worried about the security at the Capitol building. Secret Service and FBI and other federal agencies are saying that's completely nonsense. But Pelosi is trying to deplatform Donald Trump. She doesn't want him to get up there for what is generally one of the most watched presidential speeches of the year, and talk about the wall and talk about immigration. She's basically trying to silence him, to basically disconnect him from the public here. Now, President Trump responded to Nancy Pelosi in writing and basically, point by point, refuted her letter and saying that Pelosi's upcoming trip that she has planned overseas, that she should fly commercial. So that's going on back and forth, all this bitter infighting here. Anyway, the Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security are rejecting Nancy Pelosi's security excuse for canceling the State of the Union. They're saying it absolutely is going to be secure. There is no problem there. Rand Paul came out with a better idea, saying that if Pelosi tries to block the State of the Union speech in the House of Representatives, that Trump should just hold it in the Senate, and the representatives can basically watch it on TV. Or for that matter, Trump could do it from the Oval Office, because it really is a speech to the nation, not to the Congress here. By the way, as a little side note, Nancy Pelosi's worth as of last year was $196 million. Kind of interesting how she gets to be worth that much money on a congresswoman's salary here. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is canceling her upcoming speeches. She's still recovering from her cancer surgery. The official word is that the cancer is gone, she's recovering well, and will return to the Supreme Court eventually. But apparently she's having a very hard time about it, and she's pulled out of 2 upcoming speaking engagements. She was supposed to appear the 29th of this month at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. That's been canceled. And then there was a February 6th event featuring Ginsburg and private equity titan and philanthropist David Rubenstein in New York has also been canceled. And Ginsburg's office has expressed their regrets. But she is 85 years old, and she's undergone some major surgery, so I can understand why she may be taking it easy here. Now then, getting on back to General Michael Flynn, and a lot of people are wondering, why was he taken down? Because he was taken down. There was no question about it. They went after him hammer and tong to basically discredit and destroy him. Apparently, a lot of people in the deep state were concerned that Flynn had Trump's ear, and that made him the deep state's worst nightmare. Flynn knows in detail how the intelligence community and the FISA courts operate. He was in the military for 33 years, including heading up the Defense Intelligence Agency. Flynn was a threat to outgoing President Obama and his shameless and highly partisan CIA director, John Brennan, who cynically corrupted the intelligence community for political purposes on behalf of Obama and Hillary Clinton. But it turns out that Flynn's biggest threat to the deep state was that he had full knowledge of what happened at that consulate in Benghazi. Flynn knows what happened, who lied, how they covered up this fiasco that cost 4 American lives, including that of the ambassador, and that's why he had to go. Okay. President Trump has now signed the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019. This guarantees back pay to over 800,000 federal workers as soon as the government shutdown ends. And that is probably going to be a bit of a help. A lot of them are having to take emergency loans to try and get by. And again, the corporate media is trying to portray them in a sympathetic light. But I think people have become so disgusted with the government. There's not a lot of sympathy out there, especially for the TSA workers here. But the bill has been signed. As soon as the government shutdown ends, Nancy, they'll get their back pay. get their lives back in order here. Appearing on CNN's Cuomo Primetime, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, told host Christopher Cuomo prosecutors are moving toward indictment and charges against President Donald Trump. He didn't go into details, but it was a heck of a stunning statement to be making on CNN. And is he smoking opium, or do they really have something? Time will tell. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And for those of you who would like to support Republic Broadcasting, and Republic Broadcasting does need your help, there's no question about that. The postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number to make a credit or debit card donation or to pledge to be a recurring monthly subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during normal business hours, extension 3 at all other times. Okay, and quick little program note. On Monday, our guest is going to be, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Tom Kauskinski, and he wrote a book called After Trump, How Nationalism Can Save America, and he's going to be our third-hour guest on Monday. All righty, getting on back to our local domestic political news, if you will. There's some new information surfacing about the Christopher Steele dossier. Now, for those of you who are a little late on getting up to speed on this, the dossier was a complete hoax. It was bought and paid for by the Democratic National Committee and by the Hillary Clinton campaign. It was sort of laundered through a company called Fusion GPS and involved this British spy, Christopher Steele, and it had all kinds of salacious details in there, including a claim that Donald Trump had a party with 2 prostitutes in a Moscow hotel. None of it has been corroborated. It's basically been dismissed as just a piece of junk. But apparently there's some new information coming out from Bruce Orr, who is now basically testifying and basically letting everybody know that key Justice Department officials, including one of Robert Moore's deputy, knew about the dossier a lot earlier than anybody claimed. Apparently, these top Department of Justice officials were briefed about Steele before they went to the FISA court. And apparently, this information was shared with Lisa Page and Peter Strzok as well. So confirmation bias, they believed it, they bought it. And apparently, a top lawyer at the Department of Justice warned the Steele dossier was connected to Clinton and might be biased, might be fraudulent. Now, at the time, Orr was Associate Attorney General, and he warned that there was political bias, but his warnings were ignored, and they were omitted, obviously, from the FISA warrant application that was made a few weeks later. So basically, they went into the FISA court with a document that they knew was suspect. They absolutely knew it was suspect. Okay, over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is out there saying the government is trying to stall the Clinton email Benghazi discovery. As you know, a judge has allowed Judicial Watch to demand answers to questions under oath regarding the incidents at Benghazi and the use of the private email server. The government is now stalling, saying, well, we're in the midst of a partial shutdown and therefore we cannot respond. I think it's a rather pathetic excuse. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Art off the grid. We're going to have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Oh, there's kind of 2 things actually plaguing my mind today. And the first one has to do with, have you heard about Anastasia Vashikevic?
No, I can't say that I have.
She's a Belarusian model and also refers to herself as she gives these sex seminars. She's like a sex therapist, I guess. She's been arrested for prostitution is what it comes down to. But this is another one who she's claiming that she has evidence that Russia or Moscow, whatever, interfered in the Trump election. Again, I'm asking, where's the evidence? She's been claiming this for years, so where is the evidence? Now, you take that into consideration along with, what's his name? He's already been fired. He's claiming that he worked to help, rig some polls prior to Trump stepping off the elevator to announce his candidacy.
Yeah.
It's trying to bring this back again as if it's a way to try to deflect attention away from the border. I think that's what this is about. What do you think?
No, I think it's trying to basically deflect attention away from the fact that Robert Mueller's about to come out with his final report of his Russian collusion investigation. And according to the story we ran yesterday, it's going to turn out to be a big nothing burger. And so they're going to load up the corporate media with all of these unfounded allegations to make it look like there's still a case there. Anyway, Art, stay on the line. We're going to put you on hold. We've got to take another commercial break, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And Aloha America, welcome back to our show. Here we're talking with Art from Off the Grid. We're talking about apparently another individual has surfaced making claims about President Trump, and Russian collusion and interference in the 2016 elections. And what's really amazing about all of this is over the last couple of months, we have seen stories coming on out saying that there were a lot of interested parties tinkering with our election, including Great Britain. But we're not seeing corporate media make a big deal about that. It's always Russia, 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 as if it's okay for Israel to interfere in our politics, which it does all the time.
Israel can do anything they want. We know that. I mean, Israel's allowed to do anything they want to, and there's never any fault, never any pushback against it. But I remembered it was Michael Cohen. Now,
Yes.
what Michael Cohen is claiming, he's claiming that he hired this Mr. Gauger, who owns Redfinch Solutions LLC, to rig the CNBC and the Drudge polls to show like there was this great support for President Trump. But when it came time to pay up, supposedly, according to Mr. Gauger, Cohen shows up with I can't believe this is just ridiculous. If this doesn't say something not right in Denmark, he shows up with a blue Walmart bag with somewhere around $12,000 to $13,000 in cash, and a boxing glove that some supposed Brazilian mixed martial arts fighter wore during a championship bout. That's why this, to me, is I think an interesting story, because it shows the depth that some of these people will go to try to drum something, anything up that they can use to say, see, it was all rigged.
Well, you can almost smell the desperation and the panic coming over Washington, D.C. I mean, they've been pushing this whole Russia collusion, Russia interference story for close to 2 years now, and they haven't come up with anything. There's no there. And again, going back to the story we talked about yesterday, sources are saying that Robert Mueller's final report will be anticlimactic. In other words, he really didn't find anything. He hasn't found anything.
Boring. He's going to make for a boring read, I guess.
I imagine so.
Anyway, that was what I was thinking. That's what's been kind of eating at me. Well, one of the few things, several things that's been eating at me all day. Just wanted to see if you'd heard anything about it, what you thought. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is just another, I guess, call it a Hail Mary, and we'll just see where this goes. And also, what do you think about Alexandria with the occasional cortex in her own mind, talking about running a train? Now, talk about getting pornographic in D.C.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks, Mike. Have a great one. Talk at you another time.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Edward in Nevada. Aloha, Edward. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Nice to be on the show again. Yeah, I remember you mentioning on the show a couple times like how the networks, needs all the support it can get, and times are kind of tough right now. And I was just thinking, I spent a lot of time on YouTube, and I saw All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, and it had been a long time since I was listening to your show. And then I saw that movie again, and the thing has over 1 million views, and it just. Then immediately after it, I was like, oh, yeah, Mike Rivero. And then I found you again on the thing and subscribed on the RSS. I was just thinking, I mean, the amount of views that got, was that something that you did just as an answer on a phone call, or did you just...
No, basically what I did was I talked about the article on the radio show, and another filmmaker basically made the video to go to the soundtrack from the radio show. So that's not my video. But I'm glad it's gotten over 1 million views.
Because I was thinking, because, you put all this time into the show every day, and you have the same group of listeners every single time, but, you guys need more and more listeners. Well, something like that could go so viral, and it's just your thoughts on this one particular subject rather than, here's the news for today. It's just, no, this is about bankers' wars, it's a topic that's always relevant. And so, what if you did one on like AIPAC or something, or like Israeli donations being more than the military-industrial complex, or issues that never get old that would go viral? Are you planning on doing any other kind of things like that?
Yeah, I mean, this last year's been kind of absorbed with taking care of Claire and other issues, so I haven't had as much time for original writing as I have previously. But now that she's getting better, I am going to be starting in to do some more original articles. And again, if you go up to that top part, the gray box near the top of the web page, there's a lot of my permanent articles are there. And I probably ought to do an index because there's a lot of original articles in the site, which for some strange reason Google doesn't list anymore.
Oh, geez, they're unpersoning people over the internet. I hate to recommend YouTube to people and stuff, even though they're doing that. But I'm just thinking if you can use the tools against them, and let's say you had a video on World War II, for instance, and how Japan was. The whole thing about Japan being, what were they doing? The embargo, or they were cutting Japan off from like fuel resources and all this other stuff. And I forget all of it, when I get into an argument. But if I can just say, bam, here's a link for Mike Rivero, refute this, and paste it in Facebook or wherever I'm having an argument, or just trying to show somebody something. And here's this guy, Mike Rivero. He's not overly. He's really level-headed. He's not like an antagonistic kind of guy. He's very logical in your whole background with like NASA and everything. I mean, people are going to have a really hard time arguing with you. And so you can use those little clips, or I should say your listeners could use those clips and just be like, oh, well, here's the real story. Here's what really happened, and then paste it for whatever topic it is, right? Mm-hmm. I think that could go really viral.
Well, yeah, we definitely do that. And, again, because of the general filtering going on with all of the social media, I'm not spending a lot of time on YouTube. I mean, we have a lot of videos out there. All of Claire's music videos are out there. And I have produced videos in the past, including one about the Pearl Harbor deception. It doesn't talk about the cause of World War II, but it does talk about how Japan was goaded into the attack by Roosevelt, and how the U.S. knew the attack was coming while still pretending it was a surprise.
Well, let me ask you one last thing. It's about that thing I kind of mentioned earlier, the thing about AIPAC. I mean, I guess it's not just AIPAC, right? It's like, I don't know how to say this without maybe crossing a line, but, people who are Zionists, let's just say that.
Yes.
Or donate more to political parties. What was it, like 50% of the Republican Party and 75% of the Democrat Party? That's the statistics I heard. I don't even recall where it was from. But do you know about that? Is that true? Is it more than the military?
I don't know what the actual numbers are, but AIPAC is a very powerful influence in our government. They should be registered as agents of a foreign government, but for some reason, again, they're immune to the rules. And so they're not required to do the reporting that they would be required to do if they were registered as an agent of a foreign government, even though that's very clearly exactly what they are. But they can make and break political careers, and members of Congress are afraid of them. Cynthia McKinney ran afoul of them, and they poured a huge amount of money to get her kicked out of Congress.
Yeah. No, and I saw that too. And then she didn't want to sign the pledge or some kind of thing. I couldn't find much more information about it. Now, what about this? In Europe, is it illegal for me to even come up with that theory or even say it publicly? Like, hey, maybe we don't want Zionists running our government. Isn't there some kind of free speech thing?
Some of the member nations of the European Union have passed laws that equate criticism of the government of Israel with anti-Semitism, and so you do have to be very careful. As you've probably seen, both within the Senate and the House, Israel supporters are trying to get that same law passed here, but it would never survive a Supreme Court challenge because it flies right in the face of our First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
I mean, that's so ridiculous. How how do people in the UK or whatever how do they even fight such a thing? Do they have to say it sarcastically, like, "Oh, it's great that Israel's running our government. I just love it." I mean, how could you even criticize it without criticizing the government?
Well, I'm sure in private people are still going about criticizing the government of Israel for what they're doing. The laws are really aimed at people who are out there in public, they're on a podium or they're on the internet, saying that Israel is doing bad things, and then they can and are being prosecuted. There are laws against questioning the Holocaust all over Europe. They just threw that grandmother into jail again for questioning whether the Holocaust, as it's been described, really did happen.
I was on the fence about it, but after seeing what they do to people, I mean, if we're gonna do that to anyone who questions something, even flat Earth or whatever, I don't believe in that. But I mean, I'm going to dispute what's trying to be hammered into my head all the time. It's like, oh, it's illegal to criticize this or even see if it's real or not. I just think.
I mean, when you consider how much effort is put in to protecting that story, it becomes very obvious there's something being hidden. I mean, if you go around saying you saw a Bigfoot, people will chuckle at you. If you claim to have been abducted by a flying saucer, you don't lose your job, you don't go to jail, your life and career aren't ruined. But if you question the orthodox telling of the history of World War II, it all comes down on you. Wreck your job, wreck your career, throw you in jail if it's possible. And looking at that most protected point where all of that effort overlaps, including the force of law, it's obvious something is being hidden there, because truth does not need a law to protect it. Only lies and liars resort to the courts to enforce adherence to dogma.
Yeah. What do you think the market reason is for those companies like Gillette and stuff? All these companies now doing all this anti-white it's like Marxist advertising. You saw the downvotes on that video. Like, why are they even doing that?
Well, I think Gillette itself may not have realized this was going to be the disaster it was. The lady who directed the commercial, known radical feminist, known male basher, and she just decided she was going to use the opportunity to produce the commercial to make a social justice statement. And it certainly made Gillette notorious, and already there are satires being produced of it and other rebuttals, responses. So it's going to be in the news for a while. I don't think this is what Gillette wanted. I think Gillette just wanted another commercial that was going to sell razors. This one wasn't it.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Mike. Have a good one, and I'll keep listening to your show.
All right, well, thanks an awful lot, Edward. We're going to let you go here. The phone lines are now empty. All right, so let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard. As you know, she's a representative from right here in Hawaii. I'm not actually in her district, but she's over that away. And she has thrown her hat into the ring for the 2020 campaign for President of the United States, and she's going after the nomination. And the entire political spectrum is losing their hair over this. Mainstream liberals and neocons are calling her a Putin puppet, and Assad's BFF. Leftists and progressives are criticizing her associations with right-wing factions in India and anti-LGBT comments she made in the early 2000s. Conspiracy analysts are criticizing her Council on Foreign Relations membership, and on and on and on. Zionist elements of Trump's base are openly promising to destroy her candidacy. Now, the reason that she has caused such a furor is that she's strongly anti-war. In fact, she's strongly anti-war. She did go and visit Assad. She was looking for a peaceful solution to end that war. And she's been in war herself. She's a military veteran. And so she's a threat to the military-industrial complex. So looking at reasons why Gabbard is somebody that we should look at. Now, I don't agree with her on everything. I mean, she's a gun grabber. Let's be honest about that here. But she's definitely going to be the most anti-war candidate on the debate stage by a wide margin, barring the entry of another candidate like Dennis Kucinich, who's even more anti-war. But Tulsi's positions on Syria, Iran, Yemen, Russia, North Korea, Afghanistan, Gaza, and previous regime interventions have set her just very far away from the establishment orthodoxy. And she will look very different from the other candidates, as different as Ron Paul looked at the Republican debates when he ran. And it is this opposition to the U.S. war machine that is the driving force behind this shrieking objection to Gabbard's candidacy. They don't want her to run. They want her out of there. They want to make sure that when 2020 rolls around, that the only candidates you will have to vote to choose from will be those who will continue the war agenda. Now, Trump basically campaigned on ending the wars. He hasn't done it, but he's been co-opted. But somebody who had a stronger personality, was more determined, if they were to win the presidency and seriously wanted to end the wars, they could do it. They could definitely do it. So Tulsi's definitely somebody to watch. Personally, I think they're going to succeed in getting her out of the campaign before she has a chance to make any real progress. We're going to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com, or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, My heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So we're looking at Hawaii's Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who is running for president in 2020. She's a long shot to win. Let's be very honest about that. But her presence in the field is going to shake things up. And it's going to basically enable a dialogue about whether or not these wars should be brought to an end. That is a very, very good thing. All right, we have a caller waiting on the line. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Mike, I don't think she's a long shot at all. I believe if she sticks to her guns, she can. She will divide the rest of the Democratic and win handily, because people are tired of these wars. We see again what happened in Syria. But what I wanted to ask you, though, is this. I do have a reservation about whether I can vote for her, because to me, the Second Amendment is maybe the most important amendment in the entire Constitution, because it's basically the glue of the rest of the Constitution.
Yes.
Is she firmly against it, or if she was willing to compromise on that and just say, look, I'm not going to go against people's right to, bear arms and all that, I think she'd be a shoo-in, maybe even to win the general election.
Well, she's going to have to soften her position on guns because, the gun voting bloc, if you will, is very large in this country. So she would definitely have to modify her position on it. And I'm not sure exactly to what extent she's a gun grabber, but she's definitely come on out with statements about how she doesn't think the Second Amendment should have been in the Constitution, and she's in favor of strict gun control. And, here in Hawaii, we've got some of the strictest gun control laws in the entire country.
Is there any possibility, like, that you could get her on a show and maybe talk to some of the people there and, understand?
I have been trying to get her on the show, going all the way back to when she went to Syria, and I've called her office here locally, and I never get a call back. So.
I'm sorry. Cynthia McKinney is also very, very anti-war, very pro-peace.
Yes.
And the AIPAC lobby and other lobbies like that, the pro-war lobbies. She is also, but she is pro-gun. She's pro-Second Amendment.
Yes,
now.
She is. We've had her on the show.
I really wish we could get her to run. I'm thinking that she might. She makes certain noises about it. But I really hope she would throw her a hat in the ring, even if it's going to be third party.
Yeah, but AIPAC would definitely be against her because she's pro-Palestinian. And, once you're on AIPAC's, naughty list, that's basically the kiss of death for a political career.
Well, not a third party, not the way. If you go to the net these days and you look at the comment sections on a lot of stuff, even on some of the mainstream garbage, just below the surface is a lot of anti-Zionist, anti-AIPAC type talk. I really don't think he would. I think Cynthia McKinney would have an excellent chance.
Well, the system is rigged against the third parties. Anyway, Mark, we got to let you go. We got to take a station identification break. We got another caller waiting on the line. We will be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. We're going to go back to the phones here to Jack in New Mexico. Aloha, Jack. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, first off, I wanted to congratulate you on a great show. I've been listening about 6 years, first-time caller. I emailed you a couple times, Mike. It's just today with Trump stopping the bus and stopping the airplane for them guys to go on another trip. It just made my day.
Well, good. No, she was going to take a
I
private...
know we're all happy about that. Right? I don't know if you discussed it or not. I'm kind of like coming in halfway, and plus I got to go about 100 miles away just to get you on the phone, so I don't often do that.
Boy, that's bad service you have there on that cell phone.
Yeah, but that means people don't call and bother you.
True.
I'd say the only real question I have about you was stay back, be calm, wait, let it happen. I believe in that except for the one thing. Where's the money to start it back up? Because we know there's no money left anywhere.
Well, basically, starting it back up, we'd have to start with a new currency. I mean, when the United States was founded, they had to come up with coinage. Now, they based it on metals. It might be a good time to introduce the electro as a currency and tokenize it. But it's just one of the challenges that we're going to have. There's money out there. It's just all locked up in Wall Street and the money junkies. And, of course, Fort Knox, in theory, that gold belongs to the people, and that could be the basis of a new monetary system.
And did you ever think maybe it got, if you find gold on metal detect, sometimes it's, it's been there and it's radioactive. Because I would see them deliberately doing something like that as last thing. That way we, the people, wouldn't have it. And, it probably doesn't belong to us anyhow anymore.
Well, that's, a plot right out of James Bond. And
that's where it's coming from. Where do these guys get these ideas at for the books? Most of it's some kind of truth behind it.
Well, Ian Fleming was actually a British spy. And that's where he got a lot of these inspirations. But here's the thing. If you're going to have gold that is the backing to a paper currency, it almost doesn't matter if it is radioactive. It can just sit there in Fort Knox being the backing to the paper currency while the radiation wears off.
All right. I never thought of that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like that gold actually gets taken out and moved around, or we hope it hasn't been taken out. It may have. There hasn't actually been an audit of the gold for 50 years. But, there's a small amount of the gold bullion that is kept in the New York Federal Reserve. That's what gets moved around to settle accounts. But the gold in Fort Knox basically just sits there, And the flaw in the Goldfinger script is that it would still be worth what it was worth even if it had been radioactive. Of course, with a nuclear device there, it would be buried underground, and you'd have to dig it all up again and recast it
But then,
back
you know,
into
there's
ingots.
caverns around there, too. Yeah. Hey, well, let me give a shout-out to Justin. Justin, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to go after Trump. Call me Irish. You know, I can get used to something quick. But he's growing on me. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it didn't destroy in a day. And I tell you what, I thought we were going to be in some kind of civil war this year, as in this year we're in.
It has dragged on a lot longer. I really thought that we were going to see the economy collapse and the government collapse, before now. But it is taking a long time. It certainly does seem to be imminent with all that's going on.
Yeah. Quick, and I'll get off the line. My background is 12 years Army and then 18 working for defense contractors. I have my own business.
Good
Now
for you.
I haven't worked for 7 years. Not old enough to retire, but I got about a 70% on the VA rating, so, you know, it's a little help. I just feel for the people that would have to start a family in this climate. I mean, my grandkids are in college, but I help as much as possible, but it's never enough.
No, it isn't.
Hey, thank you for your time.
These are hard times for ordinary Americans, and the indicators are basically saying it's going to get a little bit tougher. The ultra-rich are doing very well. They've succeeded in buying the government, and the government basically gives the rich more money, although there are a lot of people who are out there who are in favor of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's suggestion of a 70% tax rate for the ultra-rich. And, of course, the ultra-rich are very unhappy about that.
And didn't their governor, or was it the mayor, was talking about the repossession of house from delinquency, of just repossessing them?
The mayor of New York is talking about seizing
properties. Yeah, delinquent or deadbeat owners.
Well, he's basically going after the buildings of landlords who are constantly evicting people in order to be able to raise the rents.
Okay. Yeah, I try to stay out of New York, so it's
me
one of those
too.
things. Hey, thanks for your time, and
All
keep
right.
up the great. I know you got a busy schedule.
All right, well, thanks an awful lot for the call. We're going to let you go here. And we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. Getting on back to Tulsi Gabbard, apparently there is a Russiagate investigator, Carolyn Orr, and basically she's an editor with Breitbart on the left and is out there trying to find links between Tulsi Gabbard and Russia. And it reached the point where she went on out and started a crowdfunding site for a fact-finding trip to here in Hawaii to come on out and dig for links to Russia. Basically what it is she's getting a free vacation to Hawaii. She wants to talk to, or she says she wants to talk to Gabbard's constituents and dig up dirt. And Orr wrote, Tulsi is a noxious politician who presents a serious threat of dividing the left, which is exactly why Russia likes her. So already they're out there trying to link her to Russia. Ooh, Russia. She's linked to Russia. She must be bad here. Okay. Another one of our representatives here in Hawaii, Ed Case, basically came out with a comment. He was commenting on racial identity. And last Tuesday, at an event dedicated to newly minted members of Congress with Asian American and Pacific Islander roots, Ed Case came on out and said that he was an Asian trapped in a white body, which I think was taking trans racism and basically he got a negative reaction. People were accusing him of trying to score political points by playing the race card. Now, his wife is Japanese American, so it's not like he's being racist here, but he has now apologized for that. Meanwhile, Beto O'Rourke, who is also apparently in the running for president, came out with a very bizarre comment in the was being interviewed by the Washington Post. And in that interview, he basically came on out saying that the rapidly changing nature of the world meant that the Constitution was out of date. And he said it might be time to simply get rid of it and come up with something else. Well, my concern would be, what is that something else going to be? Are we not going to have the Bill of Rights anymore? Are we going to have a new core document that further cements the dictatorship we're seeing take root in this country? But as far as Beto O'Rourke is concerned here, he would never, ever get my vote, because I'm a strict constitutionalist. I think the document was brilliant. I think Thomas Jefferson was a genius coming up with it. And I note with alarm the constant attacks on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights by our current government. Now, as you know, the Senate Judiciary Committee is having hearings for Attorney General nominee William Barr, and mostly they've been focusing on Barr's views on the Robert Mueller investigation. But there is some other things in Barr's background that bear repeating, because he's actually linked all the way back to Ruby Ridge. And he did pro bono activities, quote unquote, serving the disadvantaged, end quote. The disadvantage that Barr spent the most time helping was the FBI sniper who shot this mother holding her baby in 1992 at Ruby Ridge, Idaho. Barr spent 2 weeks organizing former attorneys general and others to support the FBI sniper in defending against criminal charges in connection with the Ruby Ridge incident. Now, this FBI agent already had a federally paid law firm defending him, but with the assistance of William Barr, it helped tamp down one of the biggest scandals during Barr's time as Attorney General from 1991 to early 1993. Barr was responsible for both the U.S. Marshal Service and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, two federal agencies whose misconduct at Ruby Ridge helped to weaken the bond of trust that must exist between ordinary Americans and our law enforcement agencies, according to a 1995 Senate Judiciary Committee report. Now, if you're my age, you probably remember Ruby Ridge, and basically what it was, the father, the head of the household there, the FBI was trying to get him to be an informant against other people in the area who didn't like the government, and they basically set him up. They had another informant go on in and ask him to saw off a shotgun, and he sawed it off, and it was a ½ inch too short, which made it a sawed-off shotgun, which is illegal. They arrested him on that. His court date got changed. He was not notified, and he was in a lot of legal trouble. And the FBI was hoping that they could go on in and say, we'll make your legal troubles go away if you will inform on the other citizens living near you. The guy said no, and that's when the FBI and the Marshal Service moved in on the house, and things got terribly out of control. Okay, now, former CIA Director John Brennan, who used to be one of the big cheerleaders about collusion between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, backed off that position in a recent TV interview, saying he simply found the U.S. president's policies puzzling. Well, that's fair enough. I find some of Trump's policies puzzling. But during an interview with MSNBC's Chris Hayes Tuesday night, Brennan said, "I don't think I've said that," when Hayes prompted him about his suggestions that Trump's policy positions are the product essentially of concealed relationships with the Russians. And Brennan backed off and said, "I don't think I've actually said that. I think what we're saying here is that demonstrated examples of Mr. Trump's policy actions that are undermining the U.S. role internationally." So that's another indicator that the Mueller report is going to come up empty here. Remember Judge Roy Moore? He basically was running for the Senate in 2017. And his campaign got derailed and wrecked by an accusation that he abused underage young women during the 1970s. Well, he took a polygraph, and the Moore defense team has released the results of the polygraph, which basically he told the truth, according to the polygraph. And I know polygraphs are not all that reliable. They're not legally admissible as evidence. But it does seem to suggest that this accusation of dalliances with girls, underage and overage, has become a common tool in politics. It was certainly used against Donald Trump. It was used against the recent Supreme Court nominee. And apparently was used against Judge Roy Moore here. Now, this next story is kind of weird because there would be a large number of resources required for this. Apparently, somebody was distributing fake Washington Post newspapers all across Washington, D.C. And the front page story of the fake paper was "Unprecedented, Trump hastily departs White House, ending crisis." And these fake print copies of the Washington Post were floating around the Capitol yesterday. Now, the Washington Post said it was aware someone had produced these forged newspapers with fake headlines and stories inside. Apparently, there was also a fake website. This takes a lot of resources because if you have never seen how a newspaper is printed, it takes a huge machine. It's not like something you can have in a back room of a storefront here. There's huge rolls of papers. It prints and folds them in order to produce what looks like a newspaper. So whoever was behind this, they had lots of resources, lots of money. They obviously had access to some newsroom somewhere with a massive printing press. And it may have even been the Washington Post's own, because I remember when I toured the Los Angeles Times and saw their press room, they basically shared that when they weren't printing the newspaper, they rented out the press to print catalogs and junk mail and basically things like that. So somebody put a lot of money into that to get it out there, and I wonder who's behind that one. Okay, on the issue of election fraud, you probably remember back during 2016 when Donald Trump said that he was concerned about election fraud, as he had a right to be. And you had all these voices that came on out saying, oh, it's ridiculous. Our voting system is accurate. It's foolproof. It's too large and complex to interfere with. Obama came out and said it. Hillary came out and said it. And other more moderate voices said that, well, voter fraud exists, but it's so rare as to be irrelevant to the outcome of the elections. And liberal media sources like U.S. News scoffed that looking for voter fraud was like going on a unicorn hunt. Well, the Democrats have kind of changed their tune right now because you've got this ongoing election dispute in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District. This is more than 2 months after the election, and the outcome is still in doubt. The incumbent Republican Mark Harris leads Democrat Dan McCready in the unofficial vote count by 905 votes, but there are credible allegations that a contractor working for the Harris campaign harvested absentee ballots and failed to deliver ballots that were likely cast for McCready. The State Board of Elections has declined to certify the election result in the wake of the November election, and a new board will resume investigating the election later in January. So now, when it's the Democrats who are feeling they've been cheated, voter fraud is real. All right, we're going to take another break here for commercials, and we'll be right back after these few words.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
Hey, and aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're getting reports now that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has contracted pneumonia on top of all the other things that she's dealing with. So It's probably why she canceled the speaking engagements. It's pretty much up in the air when or if she will return to the Supreme Court. And there have been rumblings that she was thinking of stepping down from the Supreme Court going back all the way to last September, which is why the Democrats went so ballistic on the Kavanaugh confirmation. Out in Bell, California, another good example of the political class here. Apparently, the former city manager Robert Rizzo, Mayor Oscar Hernandez, and other current and former city officials were rounded up in morning raids on their homes and taken away in handcuffs. Apparently, they had been writing themselves huge salaries that amounted to $5.5 million. And when they were taken away in handcuffs, apparently people standing around cheered and applauded. Turning to the economic news here, the China Central Bank has just injected a record amount of money into their markets to prevent a collapse. Apparently, China's economy is being impacted by the fact that one of their biggest foreign markets, the United States, just isn't buying stuff anymore. Well, we are buying stuff. Imports are actually up. Exports are down, which tells us that the Trump tariffs aren't really accomplishing what they're supposed to accomplish. But China's economy is struggling, and so China's central bank is basically engaging in, money injection, troubled asset release, TARP, bailouts, whatever you want to call it. Fourth quarter mortgage lending at the big three banks in this country has plunged 20 to 30% over the same period last year, or the previous year rather. So there's a housing slowdown. And that's another indicator of a potential recession on the horizon. All right, we have a caller on the line, James in South Carolina. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, I just hear people talking all the time, like the other caller was, about why there hasn't been a crash so far.
Yes.
And you always hear a lot of the people saying, well, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It never does. The only person I've ever heard that has always been consistent saying it's not going to happen is Joel Skousen. And I wish you would have him on your show to talk about this. Going back 5, 6, 7 years, he says there's not going to be a crash because the people in charge are too powerful.
Well, as long as they have that printing press, or those computers, they can basically pour instantly created money into the system to keep it up. That's what's kept the stock market up. The question is, can they keep doing it indefinitely? And I think at some point, no, people are going to wise up and decide to get on out. But even if there isn't a stock market crash, the reality is that for the average American, the economy has been on a downtrend for several years. Maybe it's a slow crash. And we're seeing it with
Go ahead.
We're seeing it with unprecedented levels of debt. There's the student loan problem. We were just talking about how mortgages are down. People aren't buying houses anymore. They're not able to buy houses anymore. They're not able to buy cars anymore. New car sales are way down. Used car sales are up. People are looking for the low-cost option. So for ordinary Americans, our standard of living has been in decline for some time. And to me, that's what you see in a crash anyway. It's not happening instantaneously, but it is happening slowly.
Well, they keep talking about the Federal Reserve. Some people are saying they're going to lower the interest rates again. Well, if they lower the interest rates, that means that money doesn't go into the pension funds and all like that. Yet, this keeps going. Everybody always thought that if you kept printing money, that you'd have lots of inflation. They seem to be able to tone that down. I'd like to know how it's done. I mean, it's been suggested that there are AI computers running around all the time.
Well, I'm sure that there are. See, that instantly created money coming out of the Federal Reserve, it doesn't go into general circulation. It's going into Wall Street. It's going into the banks to prop them up. And when they calculate the rate of inflation here in this country, what they leave off from the calculation is fuel and food, which are the two areas where inflation shows up first. So like everything else, the numbers are being cooked.
Well, I'd like to know, have you heard about the $21 trillion that supposedly has been missing that the guy in Michigan found?
Yeah, it's Pentagon and Housing and Urban Development. Anyway, James, stay on the line. We got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. James appears to have dropped the phone, so let's talk to Dan in Washington. Aloha, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking the call. I just had a theory. Maybe tell me what you think of it as far as the last caller how they keep inflation down. And I've always had the theory that, I mean, there is mass inflation, but as far as wages, they keep wages down by massive influx of immigrants. So wages are never going to rise. And then war, it seems like as long as they constantly have war, they're just getting rid of excess money. Even though it kind of stimulates the economy, they also get rid of it. So I was thinking, and that's why housing and raw materials, there has been massive inflation, and then they just take that out of the calculation. So what do you think about war and immigration they kind of use to keep inflation down?
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically they need a cash sink, and there's nothing like the military-industrial complex to bury a lot of cash. And let's face it, the money that goes into the military, it's one way. It doesn't really come back. I mean, they're making things that self-destruct, that blow up. So, yeah, it's a huge cash sink there as well. But in the end, they're going to rig the calculations. I mean, we're all seeing inflation in front of us. The price of everything is going up faster than our wages and salaries. And it's a rock and a hard place, and people are feeling very, very trapped.
Yep, I agree. Go to a car lot, even these little cars, you know, they want 22,000, or now they're getting up to 35 just for a mid-sized car. And,
yes.
And I think that's because, you know, I don't know if those wages of the workers at GM have gone up that much. It's just, I guess, the raw materials and that sort of thing.
Well, you know, and let's not forget those sky-high salaries for all the top executives. That's one of the ways in which our economy has been tremendously unbalanced. I mean, you don't see that kind of ratio between executive pay and worker pay in other countries, whether it's Europe or Japan. Yeah, the top executives make a little more money than the ordinary workers, but we're not talking about these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of salaries. It really is out of control there.
I agree totally. That's I read that book 1984, and I always thought that was kind of a plan. And they talk about that's why they had the, you know, world divided into this constant conflict, sort of to get rid of excess capital and give the government more power to, you know, have a police state type of thing. But anyway, that's my theories. Thanks for taking the call.
All right, you got it here, and let's do that. Just give me a second here. I'm dealing with something. Okay. Okay, getting on back to work now. Okay, phone lines are empty. I mentioned this earlier in the program, but according to the latest survey, 59% of Americans support Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's proposal to raise the top tax rate to 70%. And I think it would be a really good idea. Let's put the tax burden on those who can afford to pay it. Of course, their opinion is somewhat different. They want their tax loopholes. They want their tax shelters. They think taxes are for the ordinary people. But we're taxed out. We're broke down here. James was talking about that $21 trillion that's missing, which coincidentally enough is the same size as the national debt. And that money vanished into the Pentagon and housing and urban development. And by the way, housing and urban development, they hand out huge amounts of money for poverty housing, I guess is the phrase they use for it. That runs out the end of the month because of the shutdown. So that's going to cause some problems here. Global debt has now surpassed $244 trillion. Now, there isn't $244 trillion out there with which to repay it, let alone the interest, because that's the way private central banking works. It creates more debt than money with which to pay the debt. It is a debt trap. It's an enslavement system. And I think pretty much all of us these days are feeling those chains. Right now, nearly half the world is living on less than $5.50 a day. So there are more and more calls saying the system has to be changed. Don't tinker with it. It can't be fixed from within. It's time to basically shut it down. Go back to the system of economy this country started with no more private central banks. Okay, we're going to take another phone call. Mark in Montana, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Howdy, Michael. I disagree with you on the top tax rate being raised to 70%, and here's why. You are using the government to penalize people who succeed. Okay, how they succeed is irrelevant. Here's a case in point. If I were to stay in Montana, I'd be lucky to make 30 to 35 grand a year because it's an agricultural economy. Okay, so I get my butt up every couple of weeks. I come down to Texas and I make six figures down here. The latest poll says that people that make over $75,000 are wealthy. I'm not wealthy. I'm solid middle class, maybe upper middle class, although I don't live like it. But I don't think I should be penalized because I'm sacrificing things to make more money. Now, I understand the CEO that sits at Ford Motor Company or at GM or General Mills or one of those things. They're not sacrificing as much as some of us are, but they got into that position through education, hard work, and a lot of them worked their way up from the bottom. And I don't think it's fair. If you want a fair tax system, this is what should be done. Congress, at the end of the year, figures out their budget, and every American, and divides it by 330 million people, and every American gets a bill for it. That's a fair system. Everybody pays the same. Folks in the upper economic strata use less resources, but yet not you specifically, but people want them penalized because they have the ability to pay. People in the bottom layers of the socioeconomic strata use a lot more of the resources and are paying very little. Right now, I believe in this country, it's $40,000 is the cutoff point. If you're making less than $40,000, even though you may be paying into the federal system, you're getting it all back at the end of the year. You are not paying federal income tax. So I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that I pay a lot. I really do. And I got a pretty good accountant. I pay a lot because I have some other revenue coming in because I was smart enough to make some investments. I don't think it's fair that we penalize people for working hard and taking risks with their money. That's my personal opinion. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but.
Okay, well, again, I think those who've got more should pay more, and it's not penalizing them. It's the idea that we do have to fund the government. Personally, I think, we're taxed way too much. Both rich and poor are being taxed way, way too much.
Right. So your opinion is from each according to its means, to each according to their needs, right?
Well, I'm a capitalist at heart. I'm a capitalist at heart. But if I'm going to be forced to choose between fascism and socialism, I'm going to go with socialism.
I feel it's a disgusting shame. My tax rate, generally overall, and I live in a low-tax state. There's a reason I still live in Montana. If you figure out everything that I pay as far as license plates go, and like I said, Montana is very low in taxes. Sales tax here in Texas, bridge taxes, licenses, all that kind of crap that I pay in a year, as well as income tax and Social Security, it's almost half. We were not founded on paying half of every damn thing that we make to the government so that they could take care of other people. That's ridiculous. I would start out by doing away with all foreign aid, and I don't care what it is, no foreign aid for anybody, period.
Well,
now I understand
George Washington said that in his farewell address. Beware of foreign entanglements.
Right. Right. I mean, foreign aid needs to go. I don't think we need no troops. We need zero troops overseas right now. The last time I looked it up online, we have 1,100 bases. That includes domestically. We don't need 1,100 military bases. I'm certainly not concerned that Haiti is going to invade or that the Philippines are going to invade me. I'm not. Why do we have military bases there? The war with Germany is over. The war with Japan is over. Japan's a good ally now. Why are we there? Get our people, bring them home, put them on the borders, fix things down there. Excuse my French, and look at paring away these guys. Let a bunch of them go away by attrition. Pay them six figures. Give them everything that they need to defend this country, and call it good. And stay the heck out of other people's business. That's a good start. That would pare down a big part of the outlay by the federal government. I also believe that entitlements to any kind of a private entity, private industry is wrong. I work in the oil industry. You think that there's a lot of subsidies for the oil industry. There's not. That's very much a myth. But I believe that these big companies, General Motors is a good case in point, shouldn't get government subsidies. Farmers shouldn't get government subsidies. And I certainly think that the so-called entitlement monies for welfare and Section 8, SNAP, all this kind of stuff, they need to be seriously looked at, probably pared in half, and there needs to be a limitation on it. You can't go on that for the rest of your life unless you're really, truly disabled. And by the way, obesity is not a disability.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that, to which I would add that we've got to stop spending Americans' money on all these illegal immigrants and refugees. And I think that's a big part of the frustration and problem right now. Americans are paying all this money into the government, and it doesn't come back to us. It's going everywhere else. It's going to Israel. It's going to the war machine. It's going to the immigrants. And a lot of people can be forgiven for just wondering what the heck is really going on.
Yeah, the immigration problem, and again, I talked about it before. I work on the Mexican border. People outside of this area don't realize what it's like. I could solve the problem. Make it a felony to hire an illegal, undocumented alien, whatever you want to call them, and the CEO or the person in charge of that company does the time. It's a minimum of 6 months in the pokey.
It's already a jailable offense to hire an undocumented worker. It's all there in Title 8. If you go down through Title 8,
it needs to be pushed.
Yeah, it needs to be enforced. That's the problem. The laws are not being enforced. If Title 8 was being enforced, we would cut off all that free stuff that is luring the illegal immigrants up here. There's another migrant horde from Honduras on its way up here right now. They've crossed into Guatemala. It's over 2,000 people. Why are they coming up to the U.S. border? Yeah. Because they've heard there's free stuff.
Yeah, and this is going to sound really harsh. With that last horde, they rushed the border.
Yes.
This is going to sound really cruel, really mean, but I think if they shot a few of them, because I think that that's an invading army personally. And if an invading army is coming over your border, you defend yourself. And I think if they shoot first, again, I don't want to see any women and children killed, and I know they're pushing them to the front, but if they shoot and, put a few of them down, I don't think that we'll have any more of the migrant hordes coming towards the border. My personal opinion, and I know I sound cold, and maybe that's not the way a Christian's supposed to behave, but I also don't think we should allow ourselves to be invaded.
I'm in agreement with you. Absolutely in agreement with you. And I think, tear gas, rubber bullets, non-lethal means, but you're right. This is going to end in violence because these migrant hordes are getting larger and larger. They're willing to commit violence against our Border Patrol and ICE and the armed forces that are down there. And it's only a matter of time before somebody does pull a trigger. And, of course, the Democrats are going to go totally ballistic. Oh, how could you shoot this poor, defenseless MS-13 gang member? Anyway, Mark, we're going to let you go here. The phone lines are loading up. And let's switch over to Lauren in Ohio. Aloha, Lauren. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Wow. Well, you guys pretty much covered that. I'm in agreement with basically everything you said. We need to go back to a Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights country. All this nonsense, all this administrative jurisdiction garbage, is just that. It's a bunch of garbage. Where's the money? 21 trillion gone, 21 trillion. It's odious debt. This is not even real debt. You cannot take 3-cent cotton pieces of paper and put different numbers on it and then charge the American people interest at the amount. I put up 100 on this one, 500 on this one. Now you have to pay me the money back plus interest, and you're the printing press. We gave that away. This is treason. It's been treason for a long time. And so what we have to do is we have to get our population educated. I tell you, you covered the problems. I'm going to get straight to the solution. And I know you don't do the God thing, but the bottom line is the 10 Commandments. It's all good, man. Don't steal from people. Thou shalt not do murder. You know, we shouldn't be coveting what other people have. And that's what this income tax nonsense is. This country didn't start. I'm a black American, okay? If you steal the fruit of my labor for the good of the group, it's theft. Mayflower Compact failed. People almost starved to death. Well, a lot of people did starve to death. Because the bottom line is, if you pretend to pay me and I pretend to work, nothing real is produced. The Bible says, if a man doesn't work, nor shall he eat. And that's what's wrong with this country right now. We don't have a manufacturing base because we let the Democrats work with the Republicans to remove our manufacturing base because the people are dumb as a box of rocks. We need to get our children out of these public schools, out of the private schools, and definitely out of the colleges. I mean, I think it was you that was talking about this. The kids are coming home with their breasts. Girls are coming home with their breasts removed and mustaches.
Yes.
They got them in there brainwashing your poor children. What did you think would happen when you handed your children out to people, pedophile, Satanists, ungodly, and treasonous people? I mean, look at what's happening with this Mueller investigation. And you still have people running around acting like Trump did something wrong. They really don't understand because they watch the media that lies to them. They go to the schools that lie to them. And they won't take the time and the energy to do their own research. And this is what's wrong with America. So the answer to this real quick, keep your money in your pocket. Stop paying taxes. You shouldn't be paying income taxes.
All right. Well, Lauren, thank you very much. We're going to have to let you go. Take another break for commercials. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay, unemployment getting...
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Paul in Montana. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mr. Rivero, the person that called from Montana that works in the oil industry down in Texas.
Yeah, that was Mark.
My question is why is it the fascist bourgeois will work 3,000 miles away from where they live, not pay any taxes there, and then come up to a place like Montana where the proletariat is out scratching for food to feed their youngins, and he sits up here with all of that money, not paying as little taxes as possible in Montana, yet using all of Montana's resources. Why doesn't this patriotic bourgeois, what have you, live in Texas and pay taxes where he makes his money? Why is it the bourgeois always seem to move someplace where the proletariat is living in the mud and eating, whatever they can get off the land? Please explain this to me. Thank you.
Well, I mean, everybody ultimately has a right to try and reduce their tax burden legally. Even the IRS will admit to that. And Mark has basically discovered that's what works for him. He also may simply like living in Montana. And I will admit that going from Montana to Texas for work, it's a long trek. But there are people who will do that. For example, members of Congress, especially here in Hawaii. Tulsi Gabbard and Ned Case live here on Oahu, but they fly to Washington, D.C., because that's where their job is. Of course, we have very high taxes here in Hawaii. Anyway, thanks for the phone call. We're going to let you go and get on back to the news here. All right, we're talking about the economy here. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has announced the country's willingness to ink a deal with Iraq to drop all customs tariffs between the two countries. In other words, they're going to have free trade across their border, no tariffs. And that is definitely going to spin things up. And Zarif added that despite the U.S. sanctions, Iran is exporting $2 billion worth of gas and electricity to Iraq annually, stressing that the two countries' cooperation in the energy sector can grow if Tehran and Baghdad decide not to allow Washington to impose restrictions and limitations on their trade, which, if they're trading in their own currencies, there's really not much Washington can do other than to start dropping bombs here. Interestingly enough, the Federal Reserve has come out with a rather candid admission. Two former Federal Reserve chairs have basically stated that the Federal Reserve is responsible for recessions. Former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke said that expansions don't die of old age, they get murdered. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room, ready to answer the phone when you call on in. Talking about immigration, refugee problems, George Soros has just given $18 billion with a B to his Open Society foundations. This is one of the largest transfers of wealth ever made by a private donor to a single foundation. And as you're probably already aware, the Open Society Foundations is the driving force behind this push for no more borders, open borders, globalism. So Soros has just given them $18 billion, and that is a lot of money with which to cause a lot of mischief for nations that have borders here. Interesting little article came out of Lew Rockwell. If walls don't work, why did castles have them? Indeed, why the Great Wall of China, why Hadrian's Wall, why the Constantinople Wall, why there were walled cities, and why the Israeli wall that keeps Palestinians out of Palestine. Walls do work, according to President Obama's former Border Patrol chief, Mark Morgan. And we're still, of course, in the middle of this government shutdown over Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi's refusal to fund a border wall because they want the illegal immigrants pouring into this country. And they don't care that it's putting a huge strain on our already stressed economy. They don't care that the illegal immigrants are taking jobs away from legal American citizens. They don't care that the illegal immigrants are bringing in contagious diseases. They don't care that MS-13 is coming in with the illegal immigrants. They don't care about the increase in crime and rape. All they can think about is getting these illegals registered to vote Democratic. That's what it's all about. And what's really interesting is back when Obama was president, Schumer and Pelosi agreed walls do work, and they supported building a wall. Why are they opposing it now? And this article is saying basically Democrats want to use the issue against Trump. But the public is in favor of the wall. Polls are showing Trump has a far higher approval rating than the prostitute media, and that Americans want the wall. Instead of these migrant hordes that are lined up to just step into this country and plunder the place here. Steny Hoyer, who's the House Majority Leader, has sort of broken off with Nancy Pelosi and said that constructing a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border is not inherently immoral. And it really never was. Pelosi was just grasping at straws to say walls are immoral. So Hoyer said, I don't think building a border wall is an issue of morality. It's an issue of practicality. What I want to know is, back in 2006, there was a bill passed that was to fund 700 miles of border fence. Only 33 miles were built. I want to know who stopped the construction. I want to know where all that money went. I'm sure you do too. Over in Germany, Angela Merkel is stepping up her offer to refugees to go back home. Last November, she was offering cash to refugees to just turn around and go home. Now the offer is to pay their living expenses for 1 year if they return home. And there are billboards appearing all over Germany making this latest offer. Now, believe it or not, more than 20,000 refugees vanished when they were going to be deported. Nobody knows where they went here. And probably someplace else in Europe. And this illustrates that politicians should not be allowed to make these unilateral decisions. In this case, Merkel's decision has impacted all of Europe when the rest of Europe had no opportunity to agree or vote on the issue. And that's been a big problem all along. Angela Merkel, well, Germany, Sweden, France, yes, refugees come on in. And the refugees go through the other European countries to get there. And very often, as this is illustrated, if they think they're going to be deported, they simply move to some other country in the European Union. Now, there's a group called the Angel Moms. And these are the mothers of people who have been killed by illegal immigrants. And the Angel Moms paid a visit to Nancy Pelosi's office, which, of course, has walls. And Pelosi refused to meet with them. They were peaceful about it. They were told that if they crossed into Pelosi's actual office, that they would be arrested, and they didn't go there. Now, another Angel Mom is blasting Chuck Schumer for posing with photos of furloughed federal workers, but refusing to pose with photos of dead Americans who've been killed by the illegal immigrants. Hang on a second. Okay. We're going to do a shout out to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining the show, and we have a caller on the phone. Ken in New York. Aloha, Ken. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. I'd like to mention something that I've heard from Ralph Winterroth several times on his show, where the Supreme Court has defined what treason is, and two early cases, I think before 1820, and it said that it is the act of levying or making war against the laws of the United States. And I think that would apply very well to what he's doing.
Well, I always thought that the legal definition of treason was giving aid and comfort to the enemy in time of war. But I like that definition that you've got. And if we go with that definition, then yeah, all of these politicians who are acting contrary to the Constitution and clearly contrary to the interests of the ordinary American people, they're guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty.
If I can get on a show on the weekend, I'll try to ask him again if he'll re-quote it, because it sounded like that he said something about that it did not matter the amount of force that was employed. It had something to do with making a plan, having a rendezvous, and then actually doing something about it. That's where the act actually occurs. Talking about it's one thing, But when you actually do something about it, that's where it becomes treason.
Okay. I'm looking at the online definition of treason, and it says the crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. So I guess everybody's got.
However, yes, I could be misunderstanding it, but I've heard him mention these two cases, and I would imagine that they would not want to whatever sources are quoting cases. Some of these cases are lost in antiquity, but they're still supposed to be on the books.
Yeah. Well, if you get if you can get an actual citation for that quote, that would be interesting. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ken, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch to Curtis in Nevada. Aloha, Curtis. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I wanted to bring some information that I listened to a lot of sources, and the whole thing about the shutdown. If this whole thing is real, about everything we talk about, how Trump is actually fighting and defeating slowly but surely the other side, then what we should see is in the next, as you found out yesterday, that 30-day limit that he can actually permanently separate these government employees. If he does that, then that's a shot that's going to probably fatally cripple the deep state, because what he really, the intention of the shutdown was not about the wall. That was just a feint. That was just a head fake. What he wants to do is to shut down the senior executive service. And I'm sure you've heard them before. I've mentioned them before.
Yes.
If you research, you'll find out this is at the core of the insulation of the deep state.
Well,
Okay?
see, there's one problem. There's one problem with your theory. The program is called Reduction in Force, which is government speak for layoffs, but it has rules attached to it that they have to take into consideration the tenure of the person being considered to be let go, which means all of the most corrupt, most senior officials will be able to keep their jobs. It's just going to be the newcomers in at the bottom of the organizational chart. They're going to be the ones who are shown the door.
Well, first of all, this is not my theory. This is a theory of a lot of people that I listen to that I consider to be quite credible. As far as the main reason why they shut down was to drain the swamp, not just the bad players like the FBI and the Department of Justice, and but also the workers that are entrenched in there that are doing the bidding of these people. And the SES, I mean, I really would like if you would research them, that they are a weaponized form of the deep state that is like a fourth column inside the deep state.
Yes.
This is not just regular employees that are lazy. I'm talking about people that have been indoctrinated into working to protect. That's why you have people like Comey and all that. They're all SCS members, and they all feel like they're bulletproof because of this. And once if they shut the SCS down, that would cripple them, if not, fatally. And to me, if that happens, then everything that I've seen about Trump fighting the deep state in this kind of clandestine way, slowly but surely, I mean, he does things that he has the other side confused, and he has to. It's the art of war. He's been doing that. He's been doing that in foreign policy. He's been doing that fighting the deep state domestically. He's been doing that to the press. If people don't know what he's doing and when he says he's going to do something, I mean, he's got them flat-footed and off balance. And hopefully that's what the whole shutdown really is all about. That's my point.
Well, again, as I said, the rules that they have for riffing, the top senior officials are not facing a layoff. It's going to be shaved off from the bottom. And so that's the flaw in that particular theory.
No, the rules are the guidelines. That do not necessarily mean these are absolute. That because I have 10 years tenure or something that that's not it's not a definitive thing, and we'll find out if this is really that. We'll find out within the next 2 to 4 weeks. We'll know if this is it, because he is fighting the deep state, and we're seeing that. We don't even hear from a lot of these people. Like, for example, after that funeral, we're not hearing from some of these top people that, where are they? How come they're not speaking out? I mean, all these things that are happening right now behind the scenes, and people don't know it because they're just watching Fox, and Fox isn't saying anything about it. See what I mean?
Yes.
So there is a fight going on. All we can hope is he's a white hat, or he's a gray hat. If he's a gray hat, that, to me, that's probably the most probable thing, is that there could be something coming upon us that the controllers cannot handle, and he may be just trying to make the best of a bad situation, Or it could be a white hat, and he could be really trying for us. I don't know. But there is a fight going on, Mike. I'm just trying to. I wish people would just start looking at more sources besides just Fox, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and they just don't see it. They're just not, they're not putting it all together.
Yep. Well, again, there is a flaw in that theory, and I understand that the ripping is a potential reality, and it's only a few more days before that kicks on in. I don't know that Trump would actually order it because of the political backlash, but time will solve that mystery. Anyway, Curtis, thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, just to chime in real quick on this issue of treason. We don't need the Supreme Court to tell us what treason is. It's defined in the Constitution itself in Article 3. It contains 3 sections. The first section discusses the judicial power and the creation of the Supreme Court. Section 2 talks about exactly what kind of cases the Supreme Court will hear. And Section 3 actually defines treason. And it says this: treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. And Congress shall have the power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. Now, that is Article 3 of the Constitution, speaks directly to the Supreme Court, its authority, and the definition of treason. We don't need the Supreme Court here.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, and I guess Art just hung up here. All right, getting on back to the immigration news. Apparently, just before last Christmas, there was a group of volunteers who set out to search for the remains of dead migrants on the Barry Goldwater Air Force Range. This is a remote desert area in southwestern Arizona where military jets from bases in Arizona conduct live bombing exercises. The volunteers from the nonprofit group Aquiles del Desierto discovered the skeletal remains of 8 migrants in just 2 days. The San Diego-based group posted pictures of some of the remains it recovered near Ajo on its Facebook page, including a skull, a jaw, and a set of leg bones. Apparently, the remains of 127 dead migrants have been recovered in southern Arizona in 2018. That's another reason to build the wall. If they're not trying to get into our country, they're not going to die here. Over in the European Union, they are up in arms over Austria's exit from the UN Migrant Pact. And they're angry with Austria. They're angry with Donald Trump, who's pulled out of it as well. Now, this UN Migration Compact was basically the United Nations declaring open borders for all member nations. And when it was introduced at the concept level, a lot of nations signed on to it. Now that they're dealing with the aftermath of open borders, a lot of nations are having second thoughts. Donald Trump has pulled out. Austria has pulled on out. And again, the United Nations, I think, was exceeding its authority and jurisdiction by basically coming on in and trying to rewrite the border laws of the member nations. So Jean-Claude Juncker has claimed that this so-called Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration was going to somehow reduce illegal immigrant flows. Well, yeah, technically, because now they'd be considered legal immigrants. Anyway, Jean-Claude Juncker said Austria's refusal to sign was the only stain on an otherwise really impressive presidency. Over in Great Britain, the argument over Brexit is continuing, and they're still talking about a second referendum. Nigel Farage is out there slamming Theresa May, demanding her resignation. Anyway, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle, feeds our body with the nutrients we need to keep healthy. Just listen to what Arthur had to say.
I was just telling you, telling you what a great product you have. I had used this about, 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again, so I placed another order because this was the only thing that ever worked. And I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product. Thank you very much.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like. I can blow up anyone, whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bomb. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers in New York.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take a phone call from Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I missed about 2 hours worth of your show because I broke my ankle last night. So
Oh, man, that's terrible.
Yeah, I got to wear one of those big robo boots. It's horrible walking around with this thing. But Mike, I know you mentioned EU, but I want to talk. Did you mention about, because I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but we were short on time because it was at the end of the show, about Russia is going to surpass Germany as the 5th largest economy of the world.
We hadn't actually mentioned that, no.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to surpass Britain because I think they're the 6th largest economy of the world, right?
Yes.
Or maybe the 4th. Yeah, and I don't know what the time period that's going to happen, but isn't it funny? Like Angela Merkel, she wants to pay people to leave.
Yes.
You know, like does that mean their economy is declining because of the economy of the world, but Russia's is rising?
Yeah, isn't
that
it kind
shows
of
you the
interesting that despite all the sanctions and tariff wars and everything, they all backfire? They've been sanctioning Russia now going, back a couple of years now. Russia's doing fine. Europe gets slammed because they've lost one of their major markets. And it's probably something that sounded real good in a meeting room someplace. Yes, we're going to sanction Russia. And it wasn't really thought all the way through. I know especially France's agricultural sector took a major hit from the sanctions on Russia because Russia was buying a lot of their produce from France. And, of course, Russia is now becoming more self-sufficient. They're redeveloping their agriculture and their manufacturing, which is exactly the opposite of what the globalists want. The globalists want us all interdependent on each other. And so, yeah, it's not working out very well.
And also, did you know there was a report? They said by 2030, because we know China's the #1 economy of the world when you use the PPP, graphs, not the ones the regular people on CNBC say. But they said by 2030 it'll be China, India, and then the United States will drop to #3 at that point.
Yes,
that's what they're saying. So you see, but it's amazing how all this stuff, the sanctions, it backfired on all of Europe. Like all of Europe's like hurt now. I mean, it's like I can't believe, how this turned out.
Oh yeah, Europe is hurting. Europe's been trashed by the migrants. Graffiti everywhere, violence everywhere. I mean, the world as a whole is deteriorating right now.
The East is up on the rise. That's it. East rises, West decline.
Yep.
All right, Mike, have a good rest of the show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Okay, so we're talking about Brexit. We're talking about Nigel Farage, who has basically described Theresa May's Brexit deal, as a surrender document, and it really was. Theresa May made no secret of the fact she was a Remainer, and her Chequers plan was basically a giveaway to the EU of everything the EU wanted. And that's why so many in Parliament voted it down. But the Remainers are not giving up. And over in the Telegraph, they run a story. Apparently, there was a phone call that was made by Chancellor of the Exchequer, Phil Hammond, to 330 business people. It was a conference call. And he made the call right after Theresa May's parliamentary defeat. And basically somebody recorded this call and they made it available to the Telegraph. And basically the Chancellor, who is a Remainer, had discussed how Article 50 could be extended, and that apparently members of Parliament are rushing to find ways to change the rules where some of the backbenchers can table amendments. And right near their goal is to remove the option of a no-deal Brexit. In other words, to say there will be some kind of a deal, it just has to be worked out, and we need more time to do it. So they're fighting tooth and nail. They're absolutely fighting tooth and nail to maintain that linkage to the European Union. And as far as the European Union itself is concerned, I think it's on the verge of blowing up. I think you're going to see a schism erupt with France and Germany on one side and pretty much the rest of the EU on the other. And that could start to tear it apart, along with the migrant crisis and along with the ECB. Basically, Brexit is hanging by a thread. And there are still a lot of people out there who, by hook or by crook, don't want it to move forward. Okay, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and we'll be right back with more news after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix a problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about Brexit. And the Sunday Times ran an article basically talking about a coup being plotted by Tory rebels to take over the Brexit process. Now, this is all going on in Parliament, and apparently Dominic Grieve and Oliver Letwin are seeking a way to seize control of business in the Commons so that backbench motions take precedence over government motions. And that matters because until recently, a whole load of options were unthinkable. And the Tory rebels may be frustrated, but they could not act on their plans because they could not call them to the vote. Under normal parliamentary procedure, the government controls the parliamentary agenda. And now people like John Bercow are trying to upend that so the backbenchers can call their options to a vote on the floor. We're going to take a phone call. Jim in New York, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. How are you today?
Doing okay?
Yeah. Did you see that terrible bombing in Syria? The 4 Americans who killed?
Yep.
The guy I was reading on the internet, he predicted it like 2 weeks ago, the exact city that it happened.
Who predicted it?
Some guy on the internet. I don't know the name right off, but he said that was going to happen 2-3 weeks ago. That they would do something to get Trump to stay in Syria.
Yes, and that the timing is too cute. I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't, just when he claims he's going to leave and then this happens.
Yeah. Again, they're claiming ISIS did this, but ISIS wanted the United States to leave Syria. So why would they go and commit an act like this knowing it was going to result in the U.S. probably staying longer? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think, I tell you, these people, this Bolton, he has to go. This guy, why Trump ever hired him gives me chills, the fact that he's even there. People are saying he should get rid of him.
I agree.
Why did he hire him? I mean, it's like the third Bush administration. I mean, it's the Trump, he ran. He's a populist. He's going to get us out of these wars. Well, I'm afraid it looks like that was just rhetoric. It's what your actions are what matters. And, it seems by his actions, it's more of W. Bush. You may as well have W. Bush do another term.
Well, I don't think it's quite down to the depths of W. Bush, but it's clear that Trump is being manipulated by his advisors. He's not standing his own ground on issues. He's showing himself to be a very weak leader. He's easily manipulated. And, you're right. People like Bolton and Pompeo, they're basically running foreign policy, running the war policy right now. And, yeah, Trump's been talking about getting out of Syria since last March. So he comes on out and says, we're going to get out of Syria. And immediately there's this hue and cry, followed by this obvious false flag bombing. And I think basically we're going to stay in Syria, and corporate media and the White House are going to act like Trump never said we were going to get out of Syria.
Yeah, I'm afraid it looks that way. Just seems he's got to get rid of these people. I mean, to me, Bolton, I think he's dangerous, and he's
agree.
Running national security. He's running the national security. I mean, it's very worrisome.
Yeah, it is very, very worrisome. I mean, there are even people over at the Pentagon who are very concerned that Bolton could get us into some wars that we ought not to be into right now.
Is Trump, that stupid? I mean, if he believed what he said on the campaign, is he that dumb to hire these guys, or is he forced? Is he blackmailed to hire these guys?
Some of these appointments are political payoffs for his supporters. Sheldon Adelson, of course, is wielding a huge amount of influence with Donald Trump for having funded much of his campaign. And Sheldon Adelson is the one who's saying, I want you to appoint this person and this person. And of course, Sheldon Adelson is very pro-Israel. Bolton is very pro-Israel. Trump came into office. He's pro-Israel, always has been. And so it would be easy for Sheldon Adelson to say, let's get Bolton in there because he's not going to mess around. He's going to get us into that war with Iran.
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, it's very discouraging, very depressing to see it.
Yes, it is.
I've called the White House 4 times saying get out of Syria. I'm sure many other people did. And, it just seems, again, look at their actions. Look at what they say. Actions are what matters. And, Trump, I mean, $80 billion more in defense spending.
Well, presidents may
$1 trillion.
come and presidents may go, but the war machine goes on forever. And of course, this is exactly what Eisenhower warned us about the war machine becoming so large it was a political power unto itself and would be able to sway policy and the economy to serve its own ends. And that's exactly where we are right now.
Yeah, just like Obama. Obama said a lot of good things when he ran.
Yeah, he also promised he was going to get the troops out of the war zones.
Yeah, it's very worrisome. But I've been worried for 8 years now, so hopefully cooler heads will prevail. A friend of mine said that one of the reasons there won't be a war is everyone's scared, which to me is a good thing. If you're scared of all parties, Russia, the U.S., Iran, everyone's afraid, which is good. I hope they're afraid.
Well, I know ordinary people are afraid. The troops in the field are afraid. We have the system where the people who want war sit safely in their control rooms, conference rooms, bunkers, what have you, far away from the battlefield, and send other people's children in there to get blown to bits.
Yeah. Well, we can only hope for the best, and thanks for taking my call, and have a good day.
All right, you're welcome, and thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. Now, we have talked on this show about the problem of civil asset forfeiture, and this has been going on for a long time. It originally started out, more than a decade ago, where, in fact, I think close to 2 decades ago, the original intent was to allow police to seize property from criminals and basically use those assets against the criminals. It was sort of a police-level version of RICO. And again, it sounded good when it was first proposed, but then it got severely distorted, where police are now basically seizing property from people who are innocent of any wrongdoing. And police can seize your property without charging you or convicting you of a crime. But there is now a bipartisan coalition of grassroots organizations across the country who are now starting to push back on this, and lawmakers in at least 15 states are weighing legislation to outlaw the practice of civil asset forfeiture. Now, under this procedure, police can and have seized cash, cars, even houses from people who are found innocent, and they just pocket the proceeds. Right now, a lot of police departments depend on these seizures to basically keep their budgets going. And they have fought tooth and nail to defend the practice despite the public outcry. But the tide is finally turning. People of all political stripes are beginning to recognize there are serious concerns with this practice, and lawmakers are taking note. And they should. you can't have respect for law enforcement that is pillaging the people. Under civil asset forfeiture, the police are stealing more from the American people than the muggers, burglars, and thieves. That's how bad it is. Okay, now then, internal discussions from Google. This is being reported on Breitbart, and they have a Google employee who's leaking material to them, basically saying that Google is censoring search results on abortions, Maxine Waters, and more. And apparently they're keeping these black lists of search terms like abortion, David Hogg, and basically saying that, yeah, Google is definitely doing this. Now, Marsha Blackburn told Breitbart News that Google CEO Sundar Pichai's congressional testimony was less than truthful regarding his statement that Google does not manually intervene in any search results. Well, we know he was lying. We absolutely know that he was lying. And you should use a different search engine like DuckDuckGo or anyone. All right. There is an initiative out there called Report for America. It's an initiative of the Ground Truth Project, Google, and others that wants to place 1,000 of their journalists in local newsrooms over the next 5 years. In other words, there's now a fight over who's going to control what goes out in corporate media. It used to be primarily the government, Israel, corporate interests. Well, now Google wants to get in on the action there. And they want their cadre of journalists in these newspapers pushing Google stories. Okay, there has been a huge data breach involving 770 million email addresses. And the stuff has already showed up on the dark web. So 770 million emails, 21 million unique passwords were exposed. This is far larger than the Equifax and Yahoo hacks. And the breach is being dubbed Collection Number 1. And it's a raw data set of email addresses and passwords totaling 2 billion rows from potentially thousands of different sources. So this was a major, major hack. Okay, Amadeus is an airline reservation system. It serves 141 airlines, including British Airways, Air France, Icelandair, Qantas, and so forth. It's turned out there is a vulnerability that's just been discovered within their system that would allow an outsider to edit or change someone's ticket reservation for any airline just by having the booking reference number. So somebody could do a lot of mischief with that. As you know, there's a gaming sensation out there called Fortnite, and apparently they have a security flaw there that allows hackers to spy on young players and steal the in-game currency. So gaming security experts found this vulnerability, which allowed criminals to obtain login information and seize control. It's a mess out there. Okay, you've heard of the Dark Overlord hackers, and they released some information they claim is related to 9/11. And they threatened to release more if a ransom wasn't paid. The ransom wasn't paid. They set up a GoFundMe page saying if we reach so much money, we'll release the rest of the documents. Well, the GoFundMe didn't work, but they've gone ahead and released another batch, a second batch of what they're saying are 9/11 documents totaling over 7,500 files. Now, mostly this is stuff about insurance companies, and so far there's no smoking gun in there detailing conspiracies or government involvement. It's all just number crunching. And I think this is all a hoax to distract from the grand jury that's going to hear the evidence of explosive used in the World Trade Centers. Again, the timing is suspect. Okay. Meanwhile, while the FBI won't run an honest investigation of Hillary Clinton, they are claiming to be on the hunt for the dark overlord who is leaking files about 9/11. So they're launching an urgent investigation, which, again, if it's a hoax, everybody's going to play along with it. Oh, yes, this is real. This is real. We got to treat it like it's real here. The World Health Organization has declared that anti-vaxxers are among the top threats to global health in 2019. Ooh, you anti-vaxxers, you are such a problem here. And story coming out of Natural Blaze. The Australian government is causing death and disability with mandatory vaccination policies. And according to this article, it's saying this vaccines are not about promoting health in the community. They're about promoting big business. And apparently records being kept in Australia is showing that children's health is significantly declining with the addition of every new vaccine being recommended by the government. Now, here in the United States, we don't have those kind of statistics. They're rather embarrassing. Over in Ohio, in Columbus, the Mount Carmel Health System, a doctor identified as William Hussel is being sued by a family that alleges that he gave a massive fentanyl overdose to 79-year-old Janet Kavanaugh, causing her death. And apparently this doctor did this to some 30 near-death patients. Now, whether he sees himself as an angel of mercy or what, we don't know, but he's being sued. All right, there's the music. We got to take our last break for a commercial. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today here. Over in Europe at CERN, you know they've got this really powerful collider called the Large Hadron Collider. Well, I guess they decided it was time for an upgrade. CERN is now presenting plans to build a bigger, more powerful successor to the already existing Large Hadron Collider. The new accelerator will be called the Future Circular Collider. It's going to cost about 20 billion pounds. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to step up out of concerns that it could create quantum black holes, which they said about the Large Hadron Collider, and it hasn't happened yet. Now, when you go to the store and you buy something, you get that little paper receipt. And it's the thermal paper. The ink fades over time. It turns out that thermal paper contains BPA, bisphenol A. And apparently it is a hormone disruptor. It can lead to hormone-dependent cancers. It's been linked to infertility, autism, ADHD, obesity, type 2 diabetes, premature births, and the early onset of puberty. Well, there's something that should have been researched a little bit better before they put it out there. Apparently, at hospitals, hospices that are dealing with end-of-life situations, they're starting to discover that magic mushrooms, psilocybin, are being used to treat patients, to reduce their anxiety, which I think would be a good thing. Stanford University now has an all-gender locker room in the Ariliga Outdoor Education and Recreation Center, and they just debuted it last week. And the locker room is open to anyone regardless of gender identity. It was apparently converted from men's and women's restrooms. It includes 3 private showers with changing rooms, 1 dry changing room, 5 private bathroom stalls, and day-use lockers. Well, that sounds like a workable solution. And again, when I worked at a film company in Rome, they had a single restroom for everybody. And there were the little stalls where you would do your business, and the area where you'd wash your hands. Everybody just met there. And it worked out very, very well. Okay, Winter Storm Harper is going to be a major snowstorm tomorrow, moving into the northeast. And it's a monster, very heavy snow. Sierra Nevadas of California, they had blizzard warnings posted. So, gosh darn that human-caused global warming. What can I tell you? Apparently, parts of Canada are about to become the coldest spot on the planet. They've got a winter storm up there that is driving temperatures down, wind chill factors at the minus 40 degrees centigrade level. Okay, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here and get something useful done with the rest of the day here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And please take what you learn here, share it with everyone that you know. Donate to RBN. Donate to What Really Happened. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.